Hi everyone, I'm Jerome from ArtScience Museum. Thank you for joining us this evening in a live stream Q&A component of our ArtScience Late At Home program, where we'll be having a conversation with artist and musician Fauxe. So ArtScience Late At Home is the museum's performance strand, which forms part of the expanded suite of programming that has found a new home on our online platform these last months. ArtScience at Home marks a shift in the pivoting of online programming for us to create connections with you and the broader community during these times. It's also an important part of our work in which we continue to nurture new forms of invention in different kinds of space. So ArtScience Late at Home performance series is very much a chord progression from the monthly on-site performances that we have been presenting in our gallery since 2014. In this series, we invite artists to respond to the context of the pandemic with short performance pieces that are filmed in the safety of their homes. And they're improvising with what they have at hand in their immediate environments to create these performance encounters. And for this month, we are actually celebrating 100 years of horror with The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, a 1920s German expressionistic horror film that has spawned influences all the way from Tim Burton to David Bowie to Virginia Woolf. And it's our pleasure to present Fauxe in the October program for ArtScience Late at Home. For those of you who don't know, Fauxe is a notorious sampler experimentalist. Having performed in other museums and festivals such as the National Gallery and Neon Lights, Fauxe's sound is both hard to define and yet immediately accessible due to his very contextual yet intersectional influences, ranging from electronic beats to silence. So his performance video was premiered earlier today on our YouTube channel and is already available for viewing. And for those of you who have caught it, I'm sure you have a lot of burning questions for the artist of the hour. So we are live on Facebook as well as YouTube, and we welcome you to share your questions for Fauxe as well as your thoughts and comments you might have throughout the session this evening. For now, let's say hello to Fauxe.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hey, Fauxe.
Hey, Jerome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us and making time for this live stream Q&A. It was a very, very interesting presentation that you have prepared for us. So let's dive right into it.
All right, let's do this.
I think the thing is catching your work. This has been quite a departure from your usual style. So maybe you can let us know or tell us how you've approached this, and at this point, highlighting the influence that Caligari had on this particular performance.
Well, I think it's very important, like for everyone to understand that I believe that music and art, even though it existed for such a long time, like on such a medium where people can see, just like Dr. Caligari, 100 year, it's only such a short time, and I feel that like just like the people who have been inspired by them, my inspirations are just as new and as fresh, and ideas are plenty, but like not staying and sort of like defining yourself real quick with these inspirations. That shouldn't happen so quick. So like for me, truth to be told, it's very clear that back then, if you were to watch silent films and you don't have music, or even you had live music along with it, that experience is so different compared to me, a 29-year-old watching films with big blockbuster sound in a nice cinema with air conditioner and chairs. And that being said, the experience that I got watching it, and kind of taking that as my point of view with this performance, it's as simple as spontaneity and like intuition lah. I don't believe that like it would have been the same if I was supposed to do it like in December, or if I was supposed to do it like pre-COVID. And like I just wanted people to experience something in this live stream domain in a different form of light, considering how I know people would want to come and watch regardless of their own expectations and stuff. So to me, it's just about honing an experience and you know not caring too much of what happens after that.
That's quite cool because it sounds like there's a certain degree of spontaneity in the way that you approach this, as opposed to having a very rigorous prep conceptually for this. So would you say that a lot of this particular presentation that you did is rooted in spontaneity?
Yes, because growing up, sometimes we forget that when we jam in a band, and before you, let's say, practice your songs, sometimes you just pick up the guitar and just have a go with your friends. That is improvisation nonetheless. And to what degree is your intuition being challenged? Now that is up to, it's subjective lah. So I feel for me, whatever I did in that performance was also just, there was no there might have been thoughts beforehand, but it was just a one-off thing. Like I didn't do it again. And I think the more things, if any things like a sort of like any mishaps that happened, I think having intuition means that you gotta sort of like come back and like fall down and pick yourself up and figure out how do you get home. And there's so many ways to achieve that, but I feel that for me, the minimalist approach was way more fun, just because if anything happens, I'm going to live with it. But whatever you feel is whatever I am feeling at that given time.
Yeah, and that's quite interesting because the reason why I asked about spontaneity, because watching the performance clip, you never really expect what was going to happen next. It's not a atypical progression of music where you can sort of decipher a certain type of melody to what is happening. There's a little bit of tension and apprehension there as well, because you're not knowing where you're going together with the performance and together with the artist. So I thought that bit was really quite an interesting approach that you did right there.
And I think it's also important to know that, like, even when you improvise and you're just going with the flow, having like actual thoughts beforehand, like going in, is I think as important, because that's why you don't see my face. Because the truth is, I'm not knowing where I'm going, but I think visually watching someone get lost, but you can't see the person's face, I think that always leaves an air of mystery that allows you to be engaged immediately, in my opinion. uh, and I'm glad lah. I think I must, like, before this even ends, I must thank you guys for allowing me to do this, because this is where I've always been in my heart, and finding a place to articulate that is as special as this talk we're having right now.
The pleasure is all ours. I mean, we've seen your work and we follow you quite closely, and there's that element of adventurousness in your music that in a way has a similar type of parallel even to Dr. Caligari, we feel. So it's really a no-brainer in terms of matching the artist together with this particular presentation, and that's really the interesting bit for us. And as we have seen, you have done a really interesting performance. That's why we're having a robust chat about how you have approached this. And I think further from the music, the interesting music that you have chosen to approach, I think what is also engaging is also the cinematic element of this presentation, because we see a very muted monochromatic color tone. We see you not facing the camera. Can you share a little bit more about this cinematographic considerations in capturing these performances and the person that you were working with to realize this?
So I think it's always important to know that you don't need to be smart to create, and it's just about being creatively smart lah. So what happened was, the camera broke. It fell down just before my partner, Spacefish, who shot it. Before she pressed the button, the camera just fell down, and we didn't realize, but the lens dented lah. And for me, it's like, just like intuition and spontaneity. You have to figure out what are you gonna do on the spot. And the way it's filmed also, it's like she was trying to focus the camera throughout the whole time. And of course, not knowing that the lens actually broke, everything that happened was based off her own sort of trial and error and solution solving equation, towards whatever she's doing, because she's just trying to sharpen it, but she couldn't sharpen it. And if the camera was fine, she wouldn't have done what she did. And to me, that is more important than any years of experience of technology and cinematography lah. But again, this is just in this moment lah. Clearly, what I learned is that I had a few conversations, but I wish like I had more money and I can buy more lenses and break them and use them and see what I can come out with lah. Because it's always things like this. You never know what can be birthed when you never try lah.
So another layer of spontaneity from the cinematographer as well.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's really cool. And because there's also that lack of focus, which also adds to that tension over there alongside your music. And I think it's one of those, again, happy ingenious accidents. And it's amazing that you guys rolled with the punches and created something equally interesting with
Yeah,
that.
and to be very honest as well, like when I told her like what I wanted to do, I mean she herself was just a bit flawed, like just like, you sure you want to do just that? You sure you don't want to edit it any, like different camera angles and this and that? I mean, I think I live a lot. I live a lot through my art, trying to see the left. Just because again, like Dr. Caligari, a lot of years and has gone by with how people have done things. So of course, I can be inspired and I can translate that inspiration towards anything I do. But I'm here trying to inspire myself and inspire everyone else to be yourself. So I think the more I challenge that fact, the more I see things that happen that doesn't surprise me, but it makes me excited lah. So even the black and white, the monochrome look was the last thing that appeared in my mind. I was ready to send the video, but then suddenly I just clicked that, and then bam, everything just happened. And learning to understand what happens, being spontaneous as well is an important factor when you improvise, I feel, because it's not, like I said, you don't need to be smart to create. You can just be creatively smart, and you can learn how to do that too through your own trial and errors and your own creative endeavors.
Speaking of being creatively smart, on that note, I noticed during the performance clip you actually changed instruments. So maybe
Yes.
could you walk us through your decisions to do that?
So what I had planned to do initially was to improvise over like four instruments. So it's supposed to be the electric keyboard called the Rhodes, the Fender Rhodes, and then I was going to go to my classical guitar, and then I was going to go to the drum set, and then I was going to end off with a bass guitar. But I had a friend who, he was leaving for Korea, and he was like, "Hey, I don't actually bring this other keyboard that I have. Can I leave it here?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And just like that, I was like, "Hey, I saw what I did." And when I ended with the guitar, I felt like I didn't need to do anymore. And just like that, I think it was important that, you know, when I record, firstly, on the piano, you are also not hearing, a microphone that's in the room and recording the room. You're hearing straight from the instrument. But the blend of the instrument that I'm playing, which is the keyboard, moving to the guitar, once you hear me stand up and you hear my feet walking, I feel like, again, that is like what I would like to watch in a live stream performance, that I am captivated, that I am engaged, and most importantly, I'm present. And by the end of it, it was very clear to me that, like, just like how I don't know what I'm after, I do know what I want in the end, which was, a huge sigh of relief, that it's finished. And knowing when to finish is some of the hardest things to ever accomplish. But just so happened that these two instruments were perfect, both in the digital domain and in the analog, the live setting domain. So that's how it ran, lah.
Yeah, and I think another interesting thing I wanted to highlight on both instruments is that there's just to also bring the conversation back to expressionism and music, because the reason why we did this together with you was to explore expressionism, the expressionist influences from Dr. Caligari and how that could blend into music. And of course, I noticed that in your opening keys and also in your opening notes in the guitar, there was notes of dissonance, and that really kind of went in sync with the live recorded score of the film as well. And I think that dissonance was also a really crafty nod to that expressionist landscape of Dr. Caligari as the film. So that was really quite cool that I wanted to also highlight that. So kudos
Yeah.
to you for that.
Thanks, man. Like I think it was important that especially as Singaporeans, whether you studied music in Yamaha, or you picked up the recorder because you were forced to. I feel that the way we listen to music is in a specific way. If you had parents and grandparents and relatives or friends who introduced you to music outside of this country, in this world, then I kudos to you. But for someone like myself who grew up with just the radio and TV and all that, I think training my ear to understand that what we might consider like, Western conventional music and scales, seeing outside of that, seeing beyond that. There's so many emotions that can be tied to that. And look, we are in 2020 right now, and we have brilliant people who explain these things in detail, like Jacob Collier. And when you watch these things, you start to realize that, what, actually, I think I also can do that. Just because someone finally articulated it, don't mean that it doesn't make it impossible for anyone else. It just makes it easier to understand. So clearly, lah, like the dissonance is what I'm after, lah, when I'm doing that.
Yeah, but no one can reach Jacob Collier's level. I mean, he's just another beast on his own. But
Well,
yeah, that's a really cool bit that you have brought out to the piece. And I think a lot of people would probably also be quite curious as to the lyrics of what you were singing. Could you also run us through that?
oh, so like maybe for the past, I mean, just so I've been making music for a very long time. And when I start off as a singer songwriter, and when I write, over chords, the stuff that I play with a guitar and keyboards, I would always sing in very gibberish form. And like it helps me because, like, phonics to me are just rhythm, whether it's a D
Mhm.
sound or it's an A sound. And I've come to this point where, like, I've done it so long that it's very just normal for me to sing in that way. And when I decided to go from, like, thinking about, like, converting the gibberish to actual words, and then just going full on gibberish, to me it's like developing your own skill that perhaps not many people like or understand. And I feel that now when I sing, it's very easy for me to just go cha da da, I don't know where it's easy for me to put in words and put in gibberish at the same time, because our ears, I mean, this is not like they can rewind, when you watch this live. So you only have like 20 minutes to watch that, and pick up what you want. So of course I'm going to put in certain words that I like, certain words that I'm inspired by, and going with that flow lah. I mean, that's why, again, not seeing my face is very important, because you also don't know how my face is when I'm singing. You don't know these things that's happening, so you are just going to rely on your own intuition when you're watching. So the gibberish thing is like a part of me.
Yeah, so it's almost instinctive. Hearing you explain it, it's almost an instinctive thing, right? Almost like sleepwalking.
Oh yes.
You're right, and that's what we've seen in Dr. Caligari as well. So I see that you have been pulling all the stops at making all the references to the film.
I,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
again, it was a real great, like, a decision to put like these two things together. Me and Dr. Caligari. So again,
Yeah,
kudos to you guys. That's like great programming right there.
yeah, and I think another thing that probably the question in everyone's mind right now is also that hovering figure in
Mm.
the video.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
do you want to tell us a little bit more about that
Yeah.
masked figure?
Well, for whoever who knows who that masked figure is, well, kudos to you lah. But to anyone that doesn't know him, he is just or you know, let's call it lah in this situation. It is just a manifestation of my, my energy, my feelings. Same thing. I told it that it doesn't need to think, it doesn't need to follow. It should just do what it wants to do, because I'm not caring about what's happening around me. And just like when I perform live, when I perform live with visuals, 90% of the time I don't know what's really happening behind me. And I feel that that extension of a live performance is very, much needed. And again, if I need to make this very clear, for those who know the person, that's great. But the whole point of this is that sometimes it's just really interesting to see a giraffe out of nowhere in the room, and of course you'll be like, what? But you see, that's the thing, lah. You could say what, some people might just walk away, but every experience and every reaction is going to be different, and that's what I want out of this live stream performance of whatever I'm doing.
Super cool. A non-binary shadow extension of yourself.
That's a man. You really like summarize this really well, man. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I mean I understand that there's also probably some sort of, I don't know, if was there an understanding between you and this figure going into this, or was the figure improvising the movement, or was the figure responding to your music in a certain way, or
Well,
what was the arrangement, so to speak, look like?
I told the I told the the mystery. I told the mystery that you shouldn't think, like if you actually, to be honest, as I watched the video, I can see that this person is thinking, but sometimes when the person doesn't know what to do after it has unleashed all its ammo, then that's where, like, I see the light, and that's where, like, the performance really begins. And again, some people might start off, some classical pieces like start off with just bang, just everything is right there. But I was like, nah, I had 20 minutes, I think. And I think, like, if you stayed on, you probably will only feel what I'm trying to do by the last few minutes. And why not, right? We could watch like an hour and a half film, and halfway through realize, okay, I know what the ending is. So 20 minutes is such a long time, and it's very important to know, and for it to know that, like, hey, I'm right here, so I'm with you. So be brave, man, be brave.
And with that, I think Tim Dakota is trying to send you a virtual hug from the comments that you're seeing. He's saying, yo, bro. I'm just
Hey,
conveying the
Tim.
message.
Hey, Tim. Yo to you too.
Nice. And I think about the question about the improvisation of the movements of the figure and responding to the figure responding to your music. There's a question from Lyra from the audience, and I think Lyra, I hope we answered your question.
Thank you, Lyra.
Um,
That was a really good question.
yeah, and moving on to other questions from the audience. Rachel Wong is asking, are you interested to explore more live scoring gigs in future? And if so, what is your dream film you love to score to?
So
I'm also curious.
when I was growing up, my my family is divorced. My mom's an Indian, and my dad's a Eurasian, and it's mixed, and I won't get into it. But whenever I went into my father's, I visited my father's side, for Chinese New Year, Christmas, and whatever. We always go to my nana's house, and my nana's house, her son who lives there is a classically trained pianist, and he would have a grand piano in like a 2-3 room flat, and the piano would take off half of the room, and there'll be stacks of classical music, and at the same time he was really into, like, Chinese opera music, and I didn't understand anything, and I didn't understand why. And I think why I'm telling you the story is because my dream, of course, is to be able to do big events where I orchestrate big things with many people, and whether it's a visual thing with an orchestra, or whether it's just you know having lots of children singing songs that I write for them. It's very important for me to understand that, like, my life has so much to give, and what I want to give is to be able to do such big things. So live scoring gigs and all that, of course. Am I classically trained? I'm not. Do I know how to score and write, or how we say tauge, right? I don't necessarily fully yet, but that's not necessarily going to stop me, because I have to learn. But the more I learn, the more I can articulate my own thoughts, and the more I can do that, I've got 50 years left, man. I ain't gonna waste it.
Right on. And I think, yeah, on that note about, you know, having that kind of, anticipating that kind of longevity of your own artistic career and your own artistic practice, right? I mean, now that we're right smack somewhere, I mean, who knows where in this whole pandemic situation right now, and I mean, for creatives and artists everywhere, everyone is forced to approach how they work and how they appreciate art or music or films in a different way. So I guess a lot of people will be quite curious as to how, what this means to you as a producer slash musician slash artist. Now that performances and live music is on a standstill right now. So what does that mean for you?
Sorry, could you repeat that? Feels like I'm at that spelling bee competition. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I mean, the short of it is that music and performances are now all in a standstill. So what does this mean for you as a creative, as an artist
well,
slash musician?
well, again, every question is actually a really layered question, so don't mind me. But
Yeah.
I sincerely believe that, for anyone that's watching, if you've ever heard anything that anyone says about Singaporean music and art, I have never been a part of the equation, because there does come a little bit of a sacrifice to what you do. And in my opinion, what I do is I'm pretty much at, my dome. This is my sanctuary where I have to sacrifice a lot of my own time to create. And what that means is that, of course, when all this happened, you know you know of course, my big heart goes to the people who are affected by this. But I wasn't lah. I wasn't, because the truth is, I stay in a lot because I want to hone that craft. And not being able to perform doesn't really strike me as a problem, because I also don't perform unless I need to. And I mean, need to means whether it's corporate or not. I need to do it, I will do it. And if I have a vision to do something, I will do it. But to be honest, like, giving me the time to spend, I didn't do any creative thing when we hit lockdown, man. I didn't. I actually saw it as the biggest break I've ever had in my life, and I rested. I rested for such a long time. And let's not talk about like financial stuff and all that. That's a human thing. Of course, I think I also, like, I was poignant with that. But as a creative, and with all these things that I think about, I think, like, I am lucky, and I was in a very different position. So I would say that it actually gave me more perspectives as to, the time is now for me to not stand back if I feel something. And the time is now for me to give out solutions and to share this knowledge that I have, that I am continuously refining.
Yeah, and I mean, further from yourself as a creative, there's also an audience aspect to that, right? And how has that been for you? Because when you create, I mean, of course, there has to be an audience to appreciate what you are doing, in most situations, of course. But how have you felt that this whole pandemic has changed the way you also interact with your audience and your fans, so to speak?
Well, definitely one thing is that I think, okay, for whoever's watching, right, I think you need to understand that I I will treat everyone who follows and appreciates what I do as my own extension of my life. So yes, there might be some things that come off strange. You could say arrogant, you can say a bit, like, a bit proud. But the truth is, like, I have no time to care for a lot of these things. And because I don't have time to care for these things, what I always engage with, regardless whether it was pre-COVID or post-COVID, is love for what I do, and love for my surroundings, love for, what it means to be alive, and the things that I go through in my head, and what I feel about the world. Like, that gets expressed through everything I do. It's why, like, even when I share things about music, or even about this event, like, I'm always showing my face. Even if it's about, when I do my production work, I'm always going to tell people I'll always be there for you. But the truth is, what happens after that and how people engage back with me always tells me, like, who really cares about what I do. And even if this person only likes one thing about what I do, rather than saying, well, that's great, I would say that, in my power, any power I have, how I can influence you to create impact, like, that's like one of my goals lah. How do I pay it forward? So, like I said lah, like, what COVID has done for me is given me the biggest break in my own head that I've ever had in my whole life so far.
Nice. I like this creative defiance and fire that you have against this whole situation. I think the whole your whole practice and even your whole vibe. I think it has that energy and against creative defiance towards the situation.
Bro, I'm
Even to
wearing my
what you
face.
had.
I'm wearing my face. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
like
I
you
was
have.
gonna say, are you doing like a creative jujitsu thing with that COVID looking shirt prints?
No, I mean, like, this shirt, I got it 2 years ago, and I mean, it's, you see, when I got this shirt 2 years ago, I have this brooch that this guy, Jordan William, is, oh, about that's his full name, but Jordan, he makes these brooches with cloth. But I saw it, I'm like, hey, could you, like, put my album cover in it? And that's how I am, like, with everything I do. There's a lot of playfulness to everything I do, because my initial reactions for everything is to laugh. And that can come off as pretty offensive sometimes, but hey, like, that's literally what's in my head, and that's what I will share. And that's just how it is. Like, it's not like my parents were some creative geniuses or not. Like, I come from normal beginnings. But like, I'm just lucky to be born in the 21st century,
Right
or
on,
the
man.
later half of 20th century. I don't know, 1991. Yeah, later half.
Yeah, okay. I guess we'll probably come to this the end of the segment of all the serious curatorial conceptual questions.
Oh.
And I see we don't really have any questions left from our audiences, so I think we can move on to the next more fun segment, which is some quick fire questions.
All right.
Yeah, I think you enjoy this, and I'm sure a lot
Yeah,
of your fans and friends will enjoy this as well.
I'm ready.
So, time with a musician or artist that are alive.
John Cage.
John Cage, explain.
Yeah. Not growing up without a father figure. I think it's when it comes to male people, like males in general, and that sort of fatherly people. I generally like that, lah. I look up to people like that because the way they express themselves, like, there's a lot of love. And then you have John Cage, and then you have silence, and then you have all these things, but then come back to the way you explain things. And I feel that, like, rather than saying I have so many questions for you, I'm the kind of fella that doesn't put anyone on the pedestal. So it's like, I just want to hang, just chill out, lah, chill out. And like, if you like me, then that's good, that's dope. But if you don't, then, well, I hanged out with John Cage, lah, and that was an experience nonetheless, lah.
What's the first question you're asking?
Wow. What do you like to eat?
Yeah, I guess like that's the most Singaporean question to ask, right?
Yeah, I just what you like to eat, because like, if someone would ask me a question, I do not like to talk about music and art and all these things. I just want to talk about normal things, and then suddenly it will go into somewhere, like, that's just how it is.
So, Fox, what do you like to eat?
Honestly, I'm somebody that can eat the same thing every day. So in this last few weeks, I've just been eating like rice, bergedil, chicken with egg and vegetable, almost every day. If I don't cook at home, I eat the same thing every day because the taste is going to be the same, and I'm not going to be unsatisfied, lah.
Oh, there's a comment from the audience. Sorry to go off track. Walter Van Hess said, nice to see Jordan Benjamin's brooch.
Hey, yes, Jordan Benjamin. Did I say Jordan William? Man, that came out so wrong. Yes, Jordan Benjamin. He makes this. If you guys like this, he makes them. So yeah, I like it a lot.
Nice to rep all the nice stuff that you have. Okay, next on to the quick fire question is, what is your one desert island instrument for all the gear heads out there?
Okay, I've had a lot of thoughts whenever I hear questions like this, and I think the truth is, okay, today I feel like it's my guitar. It's my guitar, and excuse me, it's my guitar, and it's more specifically my classical guitar. Only because I have a sort of specific tuning that I use. It's nothing like too like next level or anything. It's just a tuning that I've been learning on my own, and I had to relearn how to play the guitar. And I'm somebody that if we were to hang out right now in my studio, very high chance I will just take the guitar and I'll sit down and I was talking to you. I'll just be playing, lah. And a lot of times I'm just playing off the conversation. I'm just doing that, lah. So it's less of an extension of me. It's literally like my friend, lah, because it's been with me, since I started playing the guitar. So yeah, today is the
Nice.
guitar.
Nice. And I think the audience is now starting to join in on the quick fire question. So I think
right.
Serene Lizzie Tan is asking, what's your favorite fried chicken joint?
Wow,
I want to know that.
Favorite fried chicken joint? Okay, I feel right. I think it could be either Popeyes for fast food, and so far my favorite chicken joint I've tried at least is Chicks. It's by Taufik Batisa. If you've never heard of it.
Oh, bro, that is so good. That is so good.
Like there's a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of dope ones, but the one I remembered, and like I'm just like, I love food. So to me, it's like dope chicken wing is dope. Like I wouldn't say it's bad, but anything that goes above that a little bit, wow, to me, like I'm like, damn, Chicks. I remembered it, and I remembered it because they put the pickles, and that to me is like, okay, you understand what you're talking about, and like I'm ready to eat there again.
Yeah, respect Taufik Batisa.
Yeah.
Shout out to Taufik.
Mm-hmm.
Next on to the quick fire question. What is the one book, movie, or song that has defined your entire 2020?
Okay. I would say it's a lot of like um, Antonio Carlos Jobim, like, you know, I mean, it's, you can say it basically bossa, or you could, or if you know the person, then you know you understand the music. But it's that lah, because I just surrounded myself with a lot of, you know, melodies and guitar, and most importantly, like what melodies like do to the mind lah. How to explain like happiness away from just saying major means happy, minor means sad. You know, this sort of, again, back to what you said, you know, 100 years of Caligari music also, not even, it's such a short time, and I feel that like I'm very glad that history has allowed me to look back and learn, and then think about myself and what it means to be able to create in my present moment. So you know, Antonio Carlos Jobim, you know, yeah, that's what I'd say.
Can you spell that out for the benefit of those who might want to search on this, guys?
Okay, let's hope I don't screw this up. So it's Antonio space Carlos space Jobim. Antonio Carlos Jobim.
Okay, nice. I see that's quite definitive of your 2020 then. And the next question, best horror film ever.
Man. Okay, I'll just be funny. Scary Movie 3. No.
That's high art, man. That's high art. High art right there.
Yeah, you know what? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with that lah. Scary Movie 3, man. Like, cause the first two were all right, but the third one, like, wow, okay, I'm good at that, and then I forgot about everything else.
Shout out to the Wyan brothers. All right. So 3 words to those who haven't caught your latest work, New Life yet. 3 words.
Okay. Be present always.
And guys, there you have it. This is Fauxe telling you guys and signing off with Be Present Always. Fauxe, thank you so much for joining us into the 4 of ArtScience Late for this collaboration, and also trusting us with the presentation of your work. We really, really appreciate you being here with us tonight, and really thank you so much for that amazing presentation, film / music that you have done for ArtScience Late at Home. And you know, to all of you sitting here with us, we have loved that. I love having all of us joining us tonight. And in addition to to Fauxe's performance, we have more ArtScience at Home programs to check out, all online. And if you're curious about the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, you can watch it at the ArtScience Museum as well. And playing onto that expressionist thread of horror films, we also have a really nice mini program of David Lynch films that's sure to spook you out and unnerve you more than anything else. So please come down to the museum. We're open every single day. Check our website for the show times as well. And Fauxe, again, thank you so much, everyone. Please stay safe and healthy. We hope to see you next on the next ArtScience Late at Home program. Thank you, guys, and good night.
Good night.